Tonight, we're taking a quiet journey through evolution's strangest experiments. Animals that can see colors we can't imagine, creatures that can rewrite their own genes, and plants that manipulate insects with deception. Some animals never grow up. Some can regenerate their bodies. Some can live without water for years, or even reverse aging itself. Evolution is not just slow change. It's a story of bizarre adaptations, hidden abilities, and biological miracles happening all around us. So relax, slow your breath, and drift with us into the strange and fascinating secrets of life on Earth. Hello, and welcome back to Dreamy Science Stories. I'm truly glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe today was long and tiring. Or maybe you're the kind of person who prefers drifting into sleep while thinking about ancient worlds, deep time, and the quiet story of life itself. Whatever brought you here, this moment is yours. There's nothing you need to do. Let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts become softer, like distant clouds passing through a night sky. Let your body feel heavy and grounded, as if it has been part of the earth for millions of years. Because tonight, we're not following a straight timeline. We're wandering through a vast and branching tree. A tangled story written not in words, but in fossils buried in stone, feathers frozen in amber, and silent genetic traces hidden inside your own cells. From creatures that can reverse their aging, to birds that still carry the shadow of dinosaurs in their bones, evolution is everywhere. It's in the ocean, in the forest, and quietly within you. We'll move slowly, one gentle, strange story at a time. And before we begin, if these calm journeys help you unwind or fall asleep, you can softly tap the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps other sleepy minds discover this quiet place too, one peaceful soul at a time. Now, let's begin our journey through the hidden echoes of evolution. DNA humans briefly grow a tail before birth. In the earliest weeks of human development, something unexpected appears. A tiny tail grows from the base of the embryo's spine. Around the fourth week, this tail begins to form, complete with vertebrae, muscles, and even nerves. For a short time, the human embryo looks strikingly similar to other vertebrates whose tails help them swim, climb, or balance. Then slowly, the body reabsorbs it. The tail shrinks, dissolves, and becomes what we now know as the tailbone or coccyx. Very rarely, a baby is born with a small tail still visible. It's a rare glimpse into a deep evolutionary memory, a quiet reminder that our bodies once followed the same blueprint as many tailed ancestors who lived long before humans existed. You are more microbe than human. Your body contains roughly 20,000 human genes, but the microscopic organisms living on and inside you carry millions more. Trillions of bacteria inhabit your skin, your mouth, and especially your gut. Together, they form what scientists call the microbiome, a living ecosystem that evolved alongside humans for millions of years. These microbes help you digest food, train your immune system, and even influence mood, thoughts, and behavior. Some are inherited through generations. Others are picked up from soil, food, air, and other people. You are not just one organism. You are a moving city of life, a collaboration between human cells and ancient microbial partners. Evolution didn't just shape you. It built a community that lives within you every moment of your life. Fish-blind cave fish still start to grow eyes. Deep in underground caves, where sunlight never reaches, live fish that have no eyes at all. They swim in eternal darkness, guided by touch and vibration instead of sight. But their embryos tell a different story. In early development, tiny eye structures begin to form, just like in their seeing relatives. Then something strange happens. The eyes stop growing. Cells break down. The tissue is absorbed back into the body. This is called regressive evolution. Instead of deleting old traits entirely, evolution often simply shuts them down when they're no longer useful. Even in darkness, these fish carry the blueprint of vision, a ghost of a world their ancestors once saw. Whales still carry bones from their walking past. Whales glide through the oceans like living submarines. But hidden deep inside their bodies are tiny pelvic bones. These bones once supported legs when their ancestors walked on land. Over millions of years, as whales adapted to life in water, their legs disappeared. But evolution rarely erases things completely. Instead, it modifies, repurposes, or leaves quiet remnants behind. The whale's pelvis is an anatomical fossil, a whisper from a time when whales walked beside rivers and forests. The giraffe's neck uses the same blueprint as yours. A giraffe's neck can be longer than a human is tall, yet it is built from the same number of neck bones as almost all mammals. 7 vertebrae. Just like humans, dogs, whales, and bats. Evolution didn't add extra bones. It stretched what was already there. This shows a powerful principle of evolution. Nature rarely invents from scratch. It modifies what already exists, slowly reshaping familiar structures into extraordinary forms. Bat echolocation evolved twice in total isolation. Bats hunt insects in the dark using sound. Dolphins navigate the ocean using sonar. These animals are unrelated and live in completely different worlds. Yet both evolved echolocation independently. Their DNA even shows similar changes in hearing genes. This is called convergent evolution, when nature finds the same solution to the same problem more than once. Sound became sight, twice. Dove flight was invented multiple times. Wings didn't evolve once. They evolved again and again. Birds, bats, insects, and extinct flying reptiles all developed flight independently. Each used different body parts, arms, membranes, or hardened scales. Evolution improvised with whatever materials were available. Sometimes it discovered the sky more than once. Banana, you share DNA with a banana. Humans and bananas share a surprising amount of DNA. Around 60% of the basic genetic code is similar. That's because all life uses the same ancient toolkit. Genes for building cells, copying DNA, and producing energy are billions of years old. The difference between you and a banana isn't the code itself, but how it's arranged and expressed. At a molecular level, all life speaks the same ancient language. Some lizards reproduce without males. In certain lizard species, females can reproduce without mating. This process, called parthenogenesis, creates offspring that are genetic clones. It's rare among vertebrates, but incredibly useful in harsh environments. One lone female can start an entire population. Evolution doesn't follow strict rules. It experiments, adapts, and sometimes rewrites reproduction itself. Globe showing Europe, Africa, all life shares a single ancient ancestor. Every organism on Earth, plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, comes from the same ancestral cell. Over 3.5 billion years ago, a simple organism lived in a world without oxygen. From that single lineage, every living thing today emerged. You are related to trees, jellyfish, mushrooms, and microbes, all branches of the same ancient family tree. Spouting whales once walked on land. Whale ancestors had legs, hooves, and long snouts. They walked along rivers and coastlines. Over millions of years, they became aquatic. Legs shortened, tails expanded, and nostrils moved to the top of the head. Fossils like Pakicetus and Ambulocetus show this transition beautifully. Creatures that could walk and swim. The largest animals ever to exist began as small four-legged mammals. T-Rex birds are living dinosaurs. The bird outside your window is not just a bird. It is a living dinosaur. Feathers, hollow bones, and many bird traits evolved in dinosaurs long before birds existed. The line between dinosaur and bird is not a wall. It is a gradient. Every sparrow is a tiny descendant of ancient giants. Modern birds are not just animals that learn to sing. They are living echoes of dinosaurs, quietly carrying ancient history in every feather and bone. Long ago, a group of small, fast, feathered theropod dinosaurs began to change. These were relatives of creatures like Velociraptor and even the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex. They already had hollow bones to reduce weight, sharp forward-facing eyes for hunting, and soft feathers that kept them warm or helped them display to mates. Over millions of years, their front limbs slowly transformed. Bones lengthened, fingers fused, and feathers grew into broad surfaces capable of catching air. Their skeletons became lighter, their bodies more streamlined, and eventually, some of them lifted off the ground. Yet evolution never erased their past. Birds still lay eggs, just like reptiles. Many still have small claws on their wings, beaks shaped from ancient jaws, and genetic sequences that trace directly back to dinosaur ancestors. Every robin, every owl, every pigeon you see in the sky is, in a quiet sense, a dinosaur that learned how to fly. And birds are only one chapter in the long book of evolutionary leftovers. Throughout the bodies of animals, including your own, there are features that no longer serve their original purpose. Scientists call these vestigial structures, biological footnotes written by evolution itself. Human goosebumps are one such note. They once helped our fur-covered ancestors puff up their hair to trap heat or look larger and more intimidating to predators. Today, they appear when you are cold or emotional, but they no longer serve their original survival role. The human appendix is another example. It is thought to be a remnant of a larger organ, once used by herbivorous ancestors to digest tough plant matter. Though it still plays minor roles in immune function, it no longer performs its ancient task. Evolution rarely deletes anything cleanly. Instead, it edits, modifies, repurposes, and sometimes simply forgets, leaving behind quiet anatomical clues that whisper about where we came from. But evolution is not only a story written in fossils and bones. It is happening right now, all around you, every single day. Antibiotic resistance is evolution in fast forward. When bacteria encounter antibiotics, most of them die. But occasionally, a few survive because of random mutations in their DNA. These survivors multiply rapidly, passing their resistant traits to the next generation. In just weeks or months, an entire bacterial population can become immune to a drug that once wiped it out. This is evolution unfolding not over millions of years, but within hospitals, farms, and cities. It is natural selection happening in real time. Traits that improve survival spread, and vulnerable traits vanish. Antibiotic resistance is a global health challenge, but it is also one of the clearest demonstrations of how relentless and adaptable evolution can be. And sometimes, evolution produces creatures so strange they seem imaginary. The platypus is one of those living wonders. With a duck-like bill, dense fur, webbed feet, and the ability to lay eggs, the platypus seems like a puzzle assembled from unrelated parts. Yet every part of its body tells a true evolutionary story. It produces milk like a mammal, but lays eggs like a reptile. It senses electrical signals from prey underwater, a rare ability among mammals known as electroreception. Its genetics are equally unusual, with 10 sex chromosomes, some resembling those of birds. The platypus is not a mashup of random traits. It is a living snapshot of evolutionary branching, a lineage that took its own quiet and curious path through deep time. Evolution also shapes us in subtle and unexpected ways. In humans, a gene once responsible for building powerful jaw muscles, called MYH16, became inactive due to a mutation. Our ancient primate ancestors had massive chewing muscles and smaller skulls. But as this gene weakened, the pressure on the skull decreased, possibly allowing the brain case to expand. Whether this mutation caused larger brains or simply allowed them, it reveals an important truth. Sometimes something breaks, and something extraordinary grows in the space left behind. Even your teeth carry echoes of ancient oceans. Hidden in the human genome are broken versions of genes that once produced enamel across the entire body surface. In ancient fish, this enamel-like coating acted as protective armor. As animals transitioned to land and developed internal skeletons, those genes were lost or repurposed. Today, enamel remains only on teeth, while the rest of the body is soft and flexible. But the genetic ghosts of that ancient armor still remain in your DNA, whispering of a time before limbs touched dry land. One of the most famous evolutionary transitions is captured in a fossil called Tiktaalik. Discovered in 2004, Tiktaalik lived around 375 million years ago. It had gills and fins like a fish, but also lungs and wrist-like bones capable of supporting its weight in shallow water. Its flat head and flexible neck made it look like a cross between a fish and a salamander. Tiktaalik is not our direct ancestor, but it is part of the bridge between life in water and life on land. Evolution does not leap. It builds tiny change upon tiny change, until fins become feet and rivers give rise to forests. Sometimes, evolution even repeats itself in surprising ways. The Tasmanian wolf, or thylacine, looks strikingly like a dog. Pointed ears, striped back, slender body. But it was not a placental mammal. It was a marsupial, more closely related to kangaroos than wolves. On isolated Australia, it evolved a nearly identical body shape and hunting behavior to true wolves. This phenomenon is called convergent evolution, when unrelated species evolve similar traits because they face similar challenges. Separated by over 100 million years of evolution, the demands of being a predator sculpted both animals into eerily similar forms. Evolution often repeats itself. Not exactly, but close enough to feel uncanny. And sometimes, evolution trades one ability for another. Penguins did not forget how to fly. They gave it up. Over millions of years, their wings became stiff flippers, their bones grew heavier, and their feathers turned into dense waterproof armor. These changes made them extraordinary underwater hunters, where they fly through the sea with the grace of living torpedoes. They can no longer soar through the air, but in the frigid oceans, they are perfectly adapted. Evolution does not aim for perfection. It aims for survival. Even familiar animals carry surprising histories in their bodies. Modern horses stand on a single toe. Their powerful hooves are enlarged middle toes optimized for speed on open plains. But ancient horses like Eohippus had multiple toes, 4 on the front feet and 3 on the hind feet. These small forest-dwelling creatures walked softly on many toes as they navigated dense vegetation. As grasslands spread and predators became faster, evolution favored longer legs and simpler, more efficient feet. Side toes shrank and disappeared. What remains is a streamlined limb, shaped by millions of years of compromise between ancestry and environment. Nature is also full of silent battles and clever tricks. Some tiger moths can jam bat sonar. Using specialized organs called tymbals, they emit rapid ultrasonic clicks in flight. To humans, it is silence. To bats, it is a storm of noise, a sonic cloud that confuses their echolocation and hides the moth's true position. It is an evolutionary arms race played out in darkness. Every improvement in bat sonar is met with a new defensive trick from moths. Evolution even reshapes family roles. In seahorses, males carry the babies. Females deposit eggs into a pouch on the male's body, where he fertilizes and protects them. The pouch supplies oxygen, nutrients, and even contractions during birth. This role reversal is rare among vertebrates, but in seahorses, it works perfectly. Evolution does not follow social rules. It follows what succeeds. Some creatures evolve in ways that seem almost alien. Naked mole rats live in dark, crowded underground tunnels filled with carbon dioxide. Over time, they evolved unusual traits to survive this environment. One of the strangest is their insensitivity to certain types of pain. Their nerves do not respond to acid or capsaicin, the chemical that makes chili peppers burn. In their acidic underground world, pain would be constant and meaningless, so evolution simply turned those signals off. Finally, even giants carry reminders of constant change. Elephants have a conveyor belt of teeth. Instead of growing one set of adult teeth, their massive molars slowly move forward as older ones wear down. Over a lifetime, they cycle through 6 sets of these grinding plates. Their bodies are in constant renewal, shaped by the demands of a lifetime spent chewing vast amounts of vegetation. Each new molar that grows in an elephant's jaw is larger and tougher than the one before. These massive teeth are designed to grind bark, crush roots, and break down coarse, fibrous vegetation that would be impossible for smaller animals to digest. But even these giants have limits. Over a lifetime, the teeth slowly wear down, moving forward like a conveyor belt until the final pair emerges. When that last set eventually erodes, the elephant can no longer eat enough to survive. In the wild, this quiet dental countdown often determines an elephant's lifespan. It is a gentle reminder that evolution shapes not only bodies and behaviors, but also the passage of time within them, building hidden biological clocks into living creatures. Human skin color is one of the most visible and misunderstood examples of evolution in action, and it did not evolve just once. As early humans migrated across the globe, they encountered very different levels of sunlight. In regions with intense ultraviolet radiation, darker skin evolved to protect DNA from damage and to preserve folate, a nutrient essential for reproduction and development. In regions with weaker sunlight, lighter skin evolved independently to help the body absorb more ultraviolet light for vitamin D synthesis. But these changes happened multiple times in different populations through different genetic pathways. Dark-skinned populations in Africa and southern India are genetically distinct, shaped by separate evolutionary histories. Similarly, light skin in Europeans and East Asians arose through different mutations, arriving at similar outcomes by different routes. Human skin tone is not a simple gradient from dark to light. It is a global mosaic, a patchwork of local evolutionary solutions to sunlight, geography, and survival. Sometimes evolution leaves behind traits that seem excessive or mysterious. The pronghorn antelope of North America can run at speeds exceeding 55 miles per hour, faster than any predator currently living on the continent. So why is it so fast? The answer lies in ghosts of the past. During the Ice Age, pronghorns shared the plains with now extinct American cheetahs, lightning-fast hunters that forced prey to evolve incredible speed. When those predators vanished, the pronghorn kept its racing ability. Today, it is an animal built for a chase that no longer exists, a living fossil of an ancient arms race. Evolution leaves traces not only of what still lives, but of what has long disappeared, written into bones, tendons, and breathtaking bursts of speed. Inside your own body, evolution has left strange and winding pathways. One nerve that controls your voice, the recurrent laryngeal nerve, takes a remarkably inefficient route. Instead of traveling directly from the brain to the voice box, it loops down into the chest, wraps around the aorta, and then travels back up to the throat. This detour is a deep evolutionary relic. In fish, the nerve simply wrapped around a nearby artery in the neck. As necks and chests grew longer in tetrapod ancestors, the nerve stretched with them, but it never rerouted. Even in giraffes, the nerve makes this enormous detour, stretching more than 15 feet. Evolution does not redesign from scratch. It remodels, stretches, and patches what already exists. Nature also loves to repeat solutions in different places. Cacti in the Americas and euphorbias in Africa look strikingly similar, with thick-ribbed stems, spines, and tissues that store water. But they are not close relatives at all. Their resemblance is the result of convergent evolution, different lineages independently evolving the same traits in response to the same harsh desert conditions. Both needed to conserve water, defend against herbivores, and survive intense sunlight. Evolution sculpted them into similar forms from entirely different starting materials. If you didn't know their history, you might think they were twins. But their similarity is only skin deep, a coincidence shaped by survival. Even the way animals see the world has evolved multiple times. Humans see in rich color thanks to 3 types of cone cells in the eye. But birds, butterflies, mantis shrimp, and some reptiles see far beyond our spectrum, including ultraviolet light. Color vision evolved independently in different groups, using different genes and pigments. In some primates, full-color vision even re-evolved after earlier ancestors lost it. Evolution does not preserve traits out of nostalgia. It discards them when they are no longer useful, and reinvents them when the environment demands them again. Some creatures seem frozen in time. Crocodilians today look remarkably similar to their ancestors from over 200 million years ago, earning them the title living fossils. But beneath their ancient appearance, they continue to evolve. Their circulatory systems are incredibly efficient, allowing them to hold their breath for over an hour. Their hearts are uniquely adapted for diving, and their behaviors, including maternal care and vocal communication, are surprisingly complex. Evolution does not always mean visible change. Sometimes stability itself is the adaptation, proof that an ancient design still works. Marsupials and placental mammals provide another mirror of evolution. Marsupials like kangaroos, koalas, and wombats evolved separately from placental mammals. Yet both groups produce similar animals: marsupial moles, anteaters, mice, and even wolf-like predators. On different continents, isolated from each other, similar ecological pressures shaped similar body forms. Evolution does not care where a solution comes from. If it works, it stays. Some animals evolve extraordinary protective systems. Woodpeckers strike wood with forces up to 1,000 times the force of gravity, yet their brains remain unharmed. They evolve thick skulls, flexible beak tips, spongy bone structures, and a specialized hyoid bone that wraps around the skull like a natural seatbelt. Their eyes even close milliseconds before impact to prevent damage. None of this appeared at once. It emerged step by step, each tiny improvement helping a bird peck harder and survive. Flatfish took evolution in an even stranger direction. They begin life symmetrical, with one eye on each side of the head. But as they grow, one eye slowly migrates across the skull, and the fish begins to live sideways on the ocean floor. The adult body becomes entirely asymmetrical, perfectly adapted for camouflage. Fossils show intermediate forms with partially shifted eyes, capturing evolution mid-transformation. Nature does not require symmetry. It requires survival. Koalas, surprisingly, have fingerprints that look almost identical to ours. Their loops and whorls evolved independently, not from a shared primate ancestor, but as a solution for gripping smooth bark. Fingerprints increase friction and tactile sensitivity, useful for climbing trees and manipulating objects. Different species, different histories, same solution. Evolution often revisits its best ideas. Some butterflies evolve nearly invisible wings. Glass-winged butterflies have scales that are spaced apart or missing, allowing light to pass through. Their wings become living glass, blending into rainforest light. This transparency makes them harder for predators to detect. Evolution did not invent invisibility. It simply reduced the structures that reflected light and let the world shine through. Naked mole rats continue to redefine what mammals can do. In low-oxygen environments, they switch their metabolism to use fructose instead of glucose, a strategy usually seen in plants. This allows their brains and hearts to function, even when oxygen levels are dangerously low. Most mammals would die within minutes, but naked mole rats, shaped by cramped underground tunnels, evolved a biochemical workaround. They are among the only mammals known to survive true anoxia by borrowing a strategy from the plant kingdom. Finally, dogs reveal how evolution can be shaped by companionship. Through thousands of years of domestication, dogs evolved an extraordinary ability to read human emotions, gestures, and intentions. They can understand pointing, tone of voice, and subtle facial expressions, often better than chimpanzees, our closest living relatives. This ability likely evolved through close partnership with humans, where individuals that understood us better were more likely to survive, thrive, and reproduce. In a sense, dogs evolved not just beside us, but with us, becoming specialists in the language of human connection. Early dogs that were especially good at predicting human intentions may have been fed more often, sheltered more safely, and trusted more deeply. Those small advantages meant survival, and survival meant passing on genes. Over thousands of years, evolution quietly favored dogs that could read our emotions, follow our gaze, and respond to our gestures. Your dog is not just loyal by chance. It is biologically tuned through countless generations to understand you, to watch your face, listen to your voice, and feel your mood. In a way, dogs evolved into specialists in human companionship, shaped not only by nature, but by friendship itself. Octopuses took evolution in an entirely different direction. Unlike most animals, octopuses can edit their own RNA, the molecule that translates DNA into working proteins. This means they can fine-tune how their genes are expressed in real time, adjusting their bodies and brains to changing conditions. These edits are temporary, not permanent mutations, but they allow extraordinary flexibility. It comes with a trade-off. Octopuses may accumulate fewer long-term genetic changes, sacrificing slow evolutionary change for rapid short-term adaptability. In the dynamic, information-rich ocean, evolution gave them a flexible mind and a body that can rewrite itself, moment by moment. Birds experience a world of color that humans can barely imagine. Most humans have 3 types of color receptors in their eyes. Many birds have 4. This extra receptor allows them to see ultraviolet light and combinations of colors beyond our perception. What looks like a dull brown sparrow to us may shimmer with hidden ultraviolet patterns to another bird. These invisible signals guide mate choice, help navigate landscapes, and reveal food sources. Evolution has tuned bird vision to a richer spectrum of reality, one that exists all around us but remains invisible to human eyes. Some animals blur the boundary between plant and animal. The bright green sea slug Alicia chlorotica can steal chloroplasts from algae and keep them functioning inside its own cells. With these stolen solar panels, the slug can photosynthesize, using sunlight to produce energy like a plant. It may even have incorporated some algal genes into its own genome through horizontal gene transfer. For a time, this animal becomes a living hybrid, part creature, part leaf. Evolution did not invent photosynthesis twice. It borrowed, repurposed, and blurred the line between kingdoms. Kiwis evolved a sense few birds rely on. Most birds hunt by sight, but kiwis, small nocturnal birds from New Zealand, use smell instead. Their nostrils sit at the very tip of their long beaks, allowing them to sniff out insects, worms, and roots hidden underground. Their sense of smell is among the strongest in all birds. In the quiet forest floor, where vision matters less than scent, evolution shaped kiwis into olfactory specialists, an avian outlier guided by the nose rather than the eyes. Marsupial moles and true moles are another case of evolutionary echoes. Marsupial moles in Australia and placental moles elsewhere in the world look almost identical. Both are blind, furry, and built for digging, with powerful shovel-like forelimbs and streamlined bodies. But genetically, they are very distant. One is a marsupial, more closely related to kangaroos. The other is a placental mammal, closer to dogs and humans. Faced with the same underground lifestyle, evolution sculpted both animals into nearly the same shape. Different histories, same solution. Some plants have evolved deception into an art form. Certain orchids mimic the appearance and scent of female insects, so precisely that male insects attempt to mate with the flower. During this futile encounter, pollen attaches to the insect and is carried to another orchid. The mimicry can be so detailed that it includes exact body shape, coloration, and even species-specific pheromones. This is not camouflage. This is seduction engineered by evolution. In the struggle for survival, illusion can be more powerful than honesty. Spiders evolved one of nature's most advanced material systems. They produce multiple types of silk, each with a unique function. Sticky silk for catching prey, tough silk for structural support, fine silk for wrapping eggs, and dragline silk for safety. These silks come from different glands, each shaped by millions of years of evolutionary refinement. Some spider silks are stronger than steel by weight, others rival Kevlar in elasticity. This was not a single invention, but a layered history of innovation, one thread added at a time. Electric fish discovered a shocking use for muscle. In several fish lineages, electric organs evolved independently from modified muscle cells. These cells no longer contract. Instead, they generate tiny electrical charges. Stacked together, they can produce powerful electric fields. Weakly electric fish use this for navigation and communication. Strongly electric species, like electric eels, use it as a weapon. Evolution did not invent electricity. It took muscle and rewired it into a biological battery. Appearances can be deceptive in evolution. Bats may look like flying mice, but genetically, bats are more closely related to whales and humans than to rodents. They belong to a mammalian lineage called Loriciotheria. Evolution shapes bodies to fit environments, not family trees. Wings and whiskers can mislead. Only genes reveal the true branches of the evolutionary tree. Some frogs rewrote their life cycle entirely. Instead of hatching as tadpoles in water, some species develop directly into tiny froglets on land or in trees. In certain cases, parents carry the young on their backs. By skipping the aquatic stage, these frogs avoid predators and unstable water conditions. Evolution does not only modify bodies, it rewrites life histories. The axolotl chose a path of eternal youth. This Mexican salamander never undergoes full metamorphosis. It remains in its juvenile aquatic form for life, yet still reproduces. This phenomenon, called neoteny, allows it to keep gills, fins, and a larval body while reaching adulthood. In a stable aquatic environment, transformation was unnecessary. Evolution allowed the axolotl to stay young forever. Self-awareness can appear in unexpected places. Pigeons, often considered simple birds, can recognize themselves in a mirror when trained. They can identify marks on their own bodies using a reflection, demonstrating a level of self-recognition. This suggests that complex cognition can evolve independently in different lineages. Intelligence is not reserved for primates, dolphins, or elephants. Sometimes it perches quietly on a city ledge. The ii evolved a finger like a biological tool. This nocturnal lemur from Madagascar has an extraordinarily long, thin middle finger used to tap on wood, detect hidden insects, and extract them. This method, called percussive foraging, resembles tool use. Its finger has a ball and socket joint, allowing unusual flexibility, and its ears detect tiny sounds of larvae moving inside trees. Part primate, part woodpecker, part echolocator, evolution fused anatomy and behavior into a single specialized hunting system. Gibbons took swinging to an extreme. They moved through trees using brachiation, swinging arm over arm like living pendulums. To do this, they evolved unique wrist joints with ball and socket structures similar to shoulders, allowing incredible freedom of movement. Their long arms, lightweight bodies, and specialized joints turn the forest canopy into a three-dimensional highway. Evolution shaped them not for walking the ground, but for flying through branches. This unique wrist structure allows gibbons to rotate their hands freely, reducing strain and increasing speed as they move through the trees. Combined with their long fingers, powerful shoulders, and lightweight bodies, gibbons can swing across gaps of more than 30 feet with effortless grace. It looks like acrobatics performed for spectacle, but every movement is shaped by survival. In the high canopy, where falling can be fatal and the ground is far away, evolution refined existing bones and joints into a living suspension system. Evolution didn't invent new parts. It simply perfected what was already there, turning arms into wings of motion and branches into pathways through the sky. Sloths took a completely different approach to survival. Sloths have one of the slowest digestive systems in the animal kingdom. Their diet consists mostly of leaves, which are low in nutrients and difficult to break down. To survive on this sparse energy, sloths evolved an incredibly slow metabolism. A single meal can take more than 2 weeks to digest. Their stomachs are divided into multiple chambers filled with specialized microbes that slowly break down plant fibers. Their sluggish movements, low body temperature, and minimal calorie needs all fit into the same evolutionary strategy. Do less. Move less. Be less noticeable. In the rainforest canopy, where predators hunt by motion, sloths survive by becoming almost invisible to time itself. Some barnacles took symbiosis to an extreme. Barnacles are often seen attached to rocks or ships, but some species evolved to live embedded directly in the thick skin of whales. They burrow into living tissue and filter plankton from the water as their enormous hosts swim through the oceans. These barnacles are so specialized that some species exist only on specific whale species. For them, a migrating mammal is not just a host. It is a moving island, a living reef that travels across the planet. Evolution can shape entire life cycles around another organism, turning a whale into a floating ecosystem. Vampire bats evolved a way to see blood without sight. Vampire bats feed on the blood of mammals and birds, and their most extraordinary adaptation lies in their noses. Specialized heat-sensitive receptors allow them to detect the warmth of blood flowing beneath skin. In complete darkness, they can locate veins with astonishing precision. This thermal sensing system evolved independently from similar systems in snakes, a striking example of convergent evolution. Their razor-sharp teeth and anticoagulant saliva help them feed, but the true innovation is thermal vision. Evolution transformed touch into a new kind of perception, allowing bats to map heat like an invisible landscape. The platypus continues to defy biological expectations. Most mammals have 2 sex chromosomes, X and Y. The platypus has 10, 5 X chromosomes and 5 Y chromosomes in males. During reproduction, these form a chain-like structure that scientists are still working to fully understand. Some of these chromosomes resemble those found in birds, hinting at an ancient genetic system predating modern mammals. The platypus is not a patchwork mistake. It is a living fossil of evolutionary branching, a mosaic of ancient traits preserved in a modern body. Some plants barely changed for nearly 200 million years. Fossilized ferns from the Jurassic period look almost identical to modern ferns. These plants have survived mass extinctions, shifting climates, and the rise and fall of countless species with remarkably little change. Their success lies in resilience. They reproduce using spores, thrive in many environments, and tolerate poor soils. In evolutionary terms, they discovered a winning design early. In forests today, ancient green fronds still unfurl as they did beneath dinosaur footsteps. Jellyfish evolved one of the strangest weapons in nature. Their stinging cells, called cnidocytes, contain microscopic harpoons that fire on contact and inject venom in a fraction of a second. These structures evolved independently, unlike any other weapon in the animal kingdom. Jellyfish have no brain and no central nervous system, yet their stingers are among the most complex biological mechanisms known. Evolution shaped them not for thinking, but for surviving as drifting networks of reflexes and tentacles across 500 million years. Seahorses evolved romance in a world of currents. In the open ocean, lifelong pair bonds are rare, but many seahorse species form monogamous partnerships. They greet each other daily, perform synchronized dances, and sometimes link tails as they swim. This bonding is tied to their unusual reproductive system, where males carry developing embryos in a pouch. Stable partnerships make reproduction more reliable for these slow-moving fish. In a competitive sea, seahorses evolve cooperation, connection, and a gentle form of fidelity. Some ants evolved into living bombs. In Southeast Asian rainforests, certain ants can rupture their own bodies when threatened, releasing toxic sticky chemicals that immobilize attackers. This suicidal defense protects the colony, sacrificing the individual for the group. It is a dramatic example of how natural selection can favor self-sacrifice in social organisms. Evolution turned bodies into weapons, not for hunting, but for protecting others. Lungfish mastered the art of waiting. When their freshwater habitats dry up, lungfish burrow into mud and form a mucus cocoon. Inside, they enter a state called estivation, where metabolism slows dramatically. They can survive for months or even years without water, waiting for the rains to return. This ability evolved in regions with unpredictable seasons, blurring the line between fish and amphibian, between activity and suspension, between life and pause. Parrots evolved vocal learning, a rare form of communication. Unlike instinctive calls, parrots can imitate sounds, learn dialects, and develop complex vocalizations. This ability evolved independently from human language, using entirely different neural circuits. Some wild parrots develop regional accents, while captive parrots mimic human speech and household sounds with uncanny accuracy. Evolution in parrots created a form of culture transmitted by sound rather than genes. Anglerfish formed partnerships to create light. In the darkness of the deep ocean, female anglerfish carry a glowing lure above their mouths to attract prey. The light is produced by symbiotic bacteria living in a specialized organ. These bacteria evolved to survive nowhere else, and the fish evolved to house and nourish them. In return, the microbes glow through bioluminescence. Evolution built an alliance between two organisms to illuminate the abyss. Giraffes evolved extreme blood pressure to survive their height. To pump blood to their towering heads, giraffes have massive hearts and arteries capable of producing blood pressure more than twice that of humans. Special valves prevent blood from rushing back when they lower their heads to drink. Without these adaptations, simply bending down could cause brain damage. Evolution shaped not just long necks, but entire internal systems to support a vertical lifestyle. Camels evolved blood for the desert. Their red blood cells are oval rather than round, allowing them to flow smoothly even during severe dehydration. Camels can lose up to a quarter of their body water and still survive, then rapidly rehydrate without damaging their blood cells. Evolution did not just adapt camels to deserts. It redesigned their blood to endure them. Tree shrews evolved a remarkable tolerance for alcohol. Feeding on fermented fruits, tree shrews regularly consume ethanol levels that would intoxicate most animals. Over time, their metabolism evolved to efficiently break down alcohol, allowing them to exploit a food source that others cannot. In a forest where fruit ferments naturally, evolution turned intoxication into nourishment. In the forests of Southeast Asia, wild tree shrews regularly sip fermented nectar from the flowers of the Burton palm. This nectar can contain alcohol levels similar to beer, yet tree shrews show no signs of intoxication. Genetic studies reveal that they have evolved highly efficient enzymes that break down ethanol rapidly, preventing the effects that would disorient most mammals. This adaptation likely allowed them to exploit a food source that others avoided, turning fermentation into nourishment rather than danger. Once again, Evolution transformed risk into opportunity, shaping a small forest mammal into a creature that can sip without stumbling, thrive without faltering, and feast where others would hesitate. The tuatara carries a hidden eye beneath its skin. The tuatara, a reptile native to New Zealand, is the last surviving member of a lineage that diverged from other reptiles more than 200 million years ago. Among its many ancient traits is a third eye, known as the parietal eye, buried beneath the skin on the top of its head. This eye cannot form images, but it detects light and helps regulate biological rhythms, seasonal behavior, and perhaps even hormone cycles. In young tuataras, the eye is more visible, slowly fading as they mature. Evolution did not erase this ancient sensory organ. Instead, it quietly preserved it, tucked beneath the surface, still sensing the sky as it has for hundreds of millions of years. Wombats evolved one of the strangest outputs in nature. Australian wombats are the only animals known to produce cube-shaped feces. This unusual shape allows their droppings to stack neatly and stay in place, making territorial marking more effective in their hilly environments. The cubes are not formed by a square-shaped anatomy, but by variations in elasticity and muscle contractions within the intestines. As the material dries and moves through the gut, it naturally forms sharp edges and flat faces. It's a reminder that even the most mundane biological functions can be sculpted by evolutionary pressure, and that geometry can emerge from the rhythms of digestion. Some spiders evolved to become living disguises. In the insect world, ants are powerful, aggressive, and often avoided by predators. Some spiders have evolved to mimic ants almost perfectly. They narrow their waists, wave their front legs like antennae, and adopt jerky, ant-like movements. This mimicry helps them avoid predators, infiltrate ant colonies, or hunt unsuspecting prey. It is not just visual camouflage, but behavioral transformation. Evolution reshaped their bodies and habits to copy another species, creating a disguise built from imitation rather than invisibility. The peacock's tail is evolution driven by desire. The peacock's enormous, colorful tail seems impractical, heavy, and even dangerous. Why would evolution favor such an extravagant burden? The answer lies in sexual selection. Peahens prefer males with large, symmetrical, vibrant tails, seeing them as signals of health and genetic quality. Over time, this preference drove tails to become larger, brighter, and more elaborate. The tail is a costly advertisement, an honest signal that says, "I survived despite this burden." In the evolutionary marketplace of attraction, beauty can outweigh practicality, and extravagance can become destiny. Chickens still carry the ghosts of teeth. Modern chickens have beaks, but hidden in their DNA are dormant genes for teeth inherited from their toothed dinosaur ancestors. In rare laboratory experiments, scientists have activated these genes, inducing primitive tooth-like structures in chicken embryos. The genetic instructions never disappeared. They were simply silenced, archived like ancient blueprints buried in the genome. Evolution rarely deletes. It layers new designs over old ones, leaving forgotten tools stored in genetic memory, waiting for science, or chance, to uncover them again. Slime molds evolved a strange form of intelligence. Slime molds are single-celled organisms that can merge into vast, coordinated networks. Despite lacking brains or nerves, they solve complex problems such as navigating mazes or optimizing nutrient pathways. They communicate through chemical signals, constantly adjusting their shape and behavior in response to the environment. Their intelligence emerges not from neurons, but from physics, chemistry, and self-organization. Evolution demonstrates that problem-solving does not require a brain. Sometimes, intelligence arises from simple parts working together in unexpected harmony. Some shrimp can create light with a snap. The pistol shrimp has evolved a specialized claw that snaps shut with astonishing speed. This snap creates a bubble in the water, and when the bubble collapses, it releases sound, heat, and even a tiny flash of light. The temperatures inside the collapsing bubble briefly reach thousands of degrees, hotter than the surface of the sun, though in a microscopic space. The shrimp itself remains unharmed, protected by its exoskeleton and the precise mechanics of its claw. Evolution transformed a simple limb into a high-speed weapon and scientific marvel, demonstrating that even small creatures can harness extreme physics. Pandas evolved a thumb from a wrist bone. Giant pandas spend most of their lives eating bamboo, and to grasp it efficiently, they evolved a sixth digit. This is not a true finger, but an enlarged wrist bone called the radial sesamoid. It functions like a thumb, allowing pandas to grip, strip, and manipulate bamboo with surprising dexterity. Evolution did not create a new finger. It repurposed an existing bone, showing that nature is an engineer that prefers modification over invention. Tardigrades may have borrowed genes from other life forms. Tardigrades, also known as water bears, are famous for surviving radiation, freezing, boiling, dehydration, and even the vacuum of space. Some studies suggest they acquired a portion of their genes from other organisms through horizontal gene transfer. This process, common in bacteria but rare in animals, blurs the boundaries of inheritance. If true, it means evolution sometimes crosses genetic borders, absorbing useful tools from unrelated life forms. In tardigrades, survival may be the result of borrowed code written into their microscopic bodies. Birdsong is learned like language. In many songbirds, complex melodies are not innate. Young birds must listen, imitate, and practice during a critical learning period. If raised in isolation, they never learn the full song. This vocal learning resembles how humans acquire language, relying on memory, imitation, and social interaction. Evolution shaped bird brains to be flexible and responsive, allowing culture to be transmitted through sound rather than genes. What begins as a simple chirp becomes music passed down across generations. Some jellyfish can age backward. The jellyfish Turritopsis dohrnii can revert its cells to an earlier stage of life when injured or stressed. This process, called transdifferentiation, allows the jellyfish to return to its juvenile polyp stage and begin life again. It is not truly immortal, but it possesses a biological loophole in aging unknown invertebrates. Evolution gave this creature the ability to rewind its biological clock, cycling through life instead of ending it. Humans still carry a forgotten ear muscle. Behind your ear lies a small vestigial muscle that once allowed our ancestors to swivel their ears like radar dishes. In most humans, it does nothing. In some, it still twitches faintly in response to sound. In animals like cats and deer, these muscles remain fully functional. In us, they are silent relics, anatomical memories of a more alert, animal-like past. Evolution does not always erase features. Sometimes it leaves them as quiet echoes of what we once were. Female hyenas evolved one of the most unusual anatomies in mammals. In spotted hyenas, females possess a reproductive structure that closely resembles a male penis. This pseudopenis is used for urination, mating, and even giving birth, making reproduction extraordinarily difficult. The trait is linked to high androgen exposure during development, which also contributes to their dominance and aggression. In hyena society, females are larger, stronger, and socially dominant over males. This anatomy is not just a biological curiosity. It reflects an evolutionary path where power, hierarchy, and reproduction intertwined in a way found nowhere else in the mammalian world. Evolution, once again, shows that there is no single blueprint for life, only countless solutions shaped by survival, competition, and time. It is part of a complex evolutionary trade-off, a delicate balance between anatomy, behavior, and survival. Evolution rarely gives a trait without taking something in return. In the case of hyenas, social dominance, reproduction, and physical form became intertwined in a way that reshaped their bodies and their societies at the same time. Cave beetles evolved by losing what they no longer needed. In the eternal darkness of caves, many beetle species have undergone what scientists call regressive evolution. Their wings shrink, their flight muscles fade, and their eyes become tiny or vanish entirely. Maintaining eyes and wings costs energy, and in an environment where there is no light and little space to fly, these traits become liabilities. Instead, energy is redirected toward longer antennae, heightened smell, and enhanced touch. In caves, blindness is not a flaw. It is an efficient adaptation to a world where darkness never ends. Some salamanders can rebuild their bodies from scratch. While humans can heal wounds and repair broken bones, certain salamanders can regenerate entire limbs. If a leg is lost, bones, muscles, nerves, and skin grow back, restoring full function over weeks or months. Specialized cells revert to a stem-like state, forming a structure called a blastema that reconstructs the missing parts layer by layer. This ability once existed in early vertebrates, but was lost in most lineages, including ours. Today, scientists study salamanders to unlock the secrets of regeneration. For the salamander, however, regrowth is simply routine, an ancient biological miracle performed quietly, again and again. The coelacanth returned from evolutionary legend. For decades, the coelacanth was known only from fossils, believed to have gone extinct alongside the dinosaurs. Then, in 1938, a living specimen was discovered off the coast of South Africa, shocking the scientific world. This ancient fish had survived in deep, cold ocean waters, largely unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. Its lobed fins resemble primitive limbs, offering clues to how the first vertebrates may have ventured onto land. The coelacanth did not rewrite evolutionary theory. It confirmed it, showing that ancient lineages can persist in hidden refuges long after we assume they are gone. Pufferfish evolved a living nutcracker. Pufferfish are famous for inflating their bodies, but their most powerful adaptation lies in their mouths. Their teeth are fused into a single beak-like structure capable of crushing shells, coral, and hard exoskeletons. Over time, their jaws transformed from simple biting tools into grinding machines. This fusion was not the invention of new structures, but the reshaping of existing teeth into a single crushing surface. Evolution turned a mouth into a precision instrument, allowing pufferfish to exploit a niche filled with armored prey. Termites and cows share a microscopic partnership. Termites and ruminants like cows could not survive on wood or grass without help. Both evolved symbiotic relationships with microbes that break down cellulose into digestible nutrients. In termites, microbes live in the hindgut. In cows, they inhabit a multi-chambered stomach. This partnership allows both animals to thrive on plant matter that most organisms cannot digest. Evolution shaped not just the host, but the entire microbial ecosystem within, creating cooperation written into biology itself. Male anglerfish become part of their mates. In the deep sea, finding a partner is rare. Some anglerfish solve this problem with one of the strangest reproductive strategies on Earth. A tiny male bites onto a female and fuses with her body. Over time, his organs dissolve, except for his reproductive organs, which remain connected to her bloodstream. He becomes a living appendage, permanently attached, ensuring reproduction whenever she is ready. In the darkness of the deep ocean, evolution eliminated separation entirely, turning two individuals into one biological unit. Corals evolved living sunscreen. Many corals glow with brilliant fluorescent colors, reds, greens, and blues that seem almost alien. These pigments are not decoration. They act as molecular sunscreens, converting harmful ultraviolet light into safer wavelengths. This protects both the coral and its symbiotic algae, allowing photosynthesis to continue without damage. Different coral species evolved different pigments tailored to their depth and light environment. At the molecular level, evolution turned light into color and color into survival. Whales and hippos share a hidden family tree. At first glance, whales and hippos seem worlds apart. But genetic and fossil evidence reveals that they share a common ancestor within the even-toed ungulates. Their ancestor likely resembled a semi-aquatic, pig-sized creature that lived around 55 million years ago. One lineage returned to the ocean and became whales. The other remained on land and became modern hippos. Evolutionary relationships are often invisible on the surface, revealed only by fossils and DNA. Transitional fossils fill the tree of life. Contrary to popular myths, evolution is rich in transitional fossils. Scientists have uncovered forms that bridge fish and amphibians, reptiles and birds, primates and humans. Fossils like Tiktaalik, Archaeopteryx, and Australopithecus capture moments of transformation. They are not missing links, but branches on a detailed evolutionary tree recorded in stone. Evolution does not leap blindly. It steps, slowly and continuously, leaving footprints in rock for millions of years. Evolution sometimes moves in sudden bursts. The fossil record shows long periods of little change punctuated by rapid evolutionary shifts. This pattern is known as punctuated equilibrium. Environmental changes, isolation, or new ecological opportunities can trigger rapid diversification. Species can appear suddenly in geological terms, then remain stable for millions of years. Evolution does not always flow smoothly. Sometimes it pauses, then ignites like a spark. Fish invented antifreeze more than once. In polar oceans, some fish evolved antifreeze proteins that prevent their blood from freezing. These proteins bind to ice crystals and stop them from growing. Remarkably, Arctic and Antarctic fish evolved this solution independently, using different genes. This is convergent evolution at the molecular level. When water falls below zero, survival depends not on speed or strength, but on chemistry written in the blood. Snakes still carry the blueprint for legs. Although modern snakes are legless, their DNA still contains the genetic instructions for limbs. In pythons and boas, tiny vestigial pelvic spurs remain near the tail. During embryonic development, snakes even begin forming limb buds before the process is shut down. The loss of legs was gradual, caused by changes in gene regulation rather than deletion. The blueprints remain, archived in the genome like forgotten architectural plans. Your DNA contains echoes of ancient viruses. Around 8% of the human genome comes from ancient viral infections. These sequences, called endogenous retroviruses, were inserted into the DNA of our ancestors and passed down through generations. Most are inactive, but some influence gene regulation and development. They are genetic fossils, scars and relics of ancient battles between viruses and hosts. Evolution is not just adaptation. It is also history, written in viral code inside every cell of your body. Fish fins became hands, feet, and wings. Long before animals walked on land, fish fins began transforming into limbs. Bones inside lobe-finned fish gradually rearranged, forming structures that resemble arms and legs. Over millions of years, these fins became the forelimbs of amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Hands that grasp, wings that fly, and legs that walk all trace back to ancient fins moving through prehistoric seas. Evolution did not invent limbs from nothing. It reshaped fins into tools that would eventually touch land, climb trees, and reach for the stars. The bones in your hands carry a story older than forests, older than land itself. The radius, ulna, wrist bones, and fingers that move so effortlessly today were once part of fins slicing through ancient seas. In lobe-finned fish, these structures formed jointed supports that allowed the fish to push against shallow riverbeds and mudflats. Fossils like Tiktaalik reveal this transition with haunting clarity. Fins that could bend, support weight, and move in ways that foreshadowed walking. Over millions of years, those fins were reshaped into limbs, and those limbs into hands capable of grasping, writing, and reaching for the stars. Genetic studies show that the same developmental genes guide fin growth in fish and hand formation in humans. Evolution did not invent new parts. It remodeled an ancient blueprint, repurposing fins into tools of thought and creation. Every time you move your fingers, you are echoing the motion of a creature that once lived in prehistoric waters. Feathers existed before flight ever did. Feathers did not begin as wings. The earliest feathers likely evolved for warmth, camouflage, and display in small dinosaurs long before any creature took to the sky. Some early feathered dinosaurs were covered in soft filaments or elaborate plumes, using them to regulate body temperature or communicate with mates. Only later did feathers become structured for gliding, and eventually refined for powered flight. Evolution often repurposes what already exists. What began as insulation became lift. What began as decoration became wings. The sky was conquered not by invention, but by transformation. Your sense of smell is ancient and deeply rooted in evolution. Although humans often believe their sense of smell is weak, it is still extraordinarily sensitive. We possess hundreds of active olfactory receptor genes, part of a massive family that evolved early in vertebrate history. These genes once guided ancient animals through darkness, helped them find food, avoid danger, and communicate through invisible chemical signals. In humans, many receptors have been lost, but those that remain can distinguish an astonishing number of scents. Evolution did not erase our sense of smell. It simply shifted our priorities towards sight and sound in a visual world. Some insects became living leaves. Leaf insects represent one of the most convincing illusions in nature. Their bodies mimic leaves so precisely that some even display markings resembling insect bite scars. Their legs resemble stems. Their bodies sway gently like foliage in the breeze. Their colors match the exact shades of surrounding plants. Through countless generations, individuals that looked more like leaves were less likely to be eaten. Over time, evolution sculpted them into botanical ghosts, animals that vanish in plain sight. Here, evolution became an artist, painting life to resemble the inanimate. Humans are still evolving. Evolution did not stop with cities, technology, or civilization. It continues quietly in our genes today. Traits like lactose tolerance, resistance to diseases, adaptation to high altitude, and changes in metabolism have evolved in just the last few thousand years. Cultural shifts create new environments, and new environments create new selective pressures. We are not a finished species. We are an ongoing experiment, still shaped by time and circumstance. The turtle shell is a skeleton turned inside out. A turtle does not wear armor. It is armor. The shell is formed from expanded ribs and vertebrae that grew outward and fused into protective plates. Fossils show transitional species with partially widened ribs, revealing how the shell gradually formed. Evolution did not add a shell on top of the body. It transformed the body itself into a living fortress. The turtle carries its skeleton on the outside, a shield grown from within. Milk existed before live birth. Milk is the defining trait of mammals, yet it may have evolved before mammals gave birth to live young. Early mammal ancestors likely produced milk to keep eggs moist and protect them from microbes. Over time, milk became richer, nourishing hatchlings until eggs were eventually replaced by live birth in most mammals. Even egg-laying mammals like platypuses and echidnas still produce milk today. What began as moisture became nourishment. What began as protection became a defining biological signature of mammals. The human chin is an evolutionary mystery. Unlike most anatomical features, the chin has no clear mechanical purpose. It does not help with chewing, speaking, or survival in any obvious way. Some scientists believe it is a byproduct of shrinking jaws. Others suggest it may be related to facial structure or sexual selection. Whatever its origin, the chin remains a small evolutionary puzzle, a leftover feature whose purpose may never be fully known. Not every trait is a masterpiece of design. Some are simply echoes that persisted through time. Goosebumps are memories of fur. When you feel cold or frightened, tiny muscles raise the hairs on your skin. In furry animals, this traps heat or makes the animal appear larger and more intimidating. In humans, the effect is mostly useless. It is a ghost reflex inherited from ancestors who relied on thick fur for survival. Each goosebump is a whisper from a fur-covered past, a reminder of ancestors who bristled against cold and danger. Crows and ravens evolved minds that rival primates. Corvids, crows, ravens, and jays are among the most intelligent animals on Earth. They use tools, solve puzzles, remember human faces, and plan for future events. Their brains are structured very differently from mammalian brains, yet they exhibit similar cognitive abilities. This is convergent evolution at the level of intelligence. Complex thought does not belong to one lineage. It can emerge wherever survival rewards memory, planning, and creativity. Flightless birds evolved again and again. Birds have lost the ability to fly many times across the world. Ostriches, emus, kiwis, rheas, and penguins all descended from flying ancestors. On islands or predator-free environments, flight becomes unnecessary and energetically expensive. Evolution shifts resources toward running, swimming, or strength. Wings shrink, legs strengthen, bodies adapt to ground or sea. Flight is not destiny. It is an option that evolution can remove when the environment changes. The human brain expanded with astonishing speed. In just a few million years, the human brain tripled in size compared to other primates. The neocortex, the center of language, reasoning, and imagination, grew dramatically. This rapid expansion demanded enormous energy, consuming about 20% of our resting metabolism. But it also gave rise to tools, art, science, and civilization. Evolution does not always move slowly. Sometimes it accelerates, reshaping life in geological moments. Wisdom teeth are relics of a tougher diet. Our ancestors had larger jaws and extra molars to grind raw, fibrous food. As cooking and agriculture softened our diet, jaws became smaller. Today, wisdom teeth often cause problems or fail to develop at all. In some populations, genes for these teeth are disappearing. They are fossils in your mouth, reminders of a past when survival required relentless chewing. You are an evolutionary mosaic. Your body is not the product of a single design. It is a collage of adaptations layered across hundreds of millions of years. Your spine was once a fish backbone. Your hands were fins. Your lungs evolved from air bladders. Even your hiccups may trace back to amphibian ancestors. Every cell carries stories older than mountains. Every structure is a relic of ancient worlds, ancient seas, ancient skies. You are not separate from evolution. You are its living archive, its ongoing experiment, its most recent chapter. You are not separate from the tree of life. You are not an observer standing outside nature. You are a branch growing from its ancient trunk, shaped by billions of years of quiet transformation. Every cell in your body carries echoes of creatures that once swam, crawled, flew, and walked long before you existed. You are a living mosaic of everything that came before, layer upon layer of history written into flesh, bone, and breath. Across oceans and forests, deserts and genomes, we have taken a gentle journey through 100 quiet windows into evolution. 100 small stories that reveal how life reshapes itself, slowly, strangely, creatively, always adapting, always experimenting. Evolution is not just locked inside fossils and stone. It is written in feathers and fingers, in instincts and subtle anatomical memories. It lives in the curve of your spine, the tension of your jaw, the rhythm of your heartbeat and breath. It whispers in the muscles that once powered fins. It lingers in the reflexes that once raised fur against the cold. It persists in the genetic scripts that once shaped ancient bodies now long gone. And even now, the story is still unfolding. In bacteria sleeping beneath glaciers. In birds changing their songs with each generation. In invisible mutations quietly passing from parent to child. Nothing in life stands still. Not mountains. Not species. Not even you. You are part of a story that began long before language, before memory, before thought. And that story will continue long after this moment fades into night. So as the world grows quiet and the stars drift silently above, remember that you are connected to every living thing that has ever existed. You are a traveler in an ancient lineage, a brief but meaningful chapter in a vast cosmic narrative. Rest now. Let your thoughts drift like slow-moving clouds through evolutionary time. Sleep gently and dream softly. Good night.